of the courthouse. And what Liz Cheney has done is literally exonerated President Trump of the very charge her committee is leading against President Trump, insurrection. She has come out and said that the Department of Defense, and the Secretary of Defense, has stated that President Trump never gave an order, and that's important, that's the exact verbiage she used, an order to deploy the United States military in D.C. on January 6th. That's true. We didn't do that. Because had we done that, and had President Trump actually gave us an order, which he never did, that's the very definition of a coup and committing an insurrection. The law is supremely clear in Posse Comitatus, a federal statute that has been interpreted by this U.S. Supreme Court, and it only has one interpretation. It's very simple. The President of the United States cannot use the Department of Defense's uniformed officers and deploy them domestically for law enforcement purposes. At all. Period. So what Liz Cheney doing is a sleight of hand. And I remind our audience, Liz Cheney is on the Armed Services Committee. She oversees the Department of Defense. Her father owns Halliburton, the largest defense contractor on planet Earth, who has made billions of dollars. There is no way Congresswoman Cheney doesn't know the law. What she does know is how to be partisan and politicize national security, as evidenced by her participation in the Jan 6 committee and conducting interviews like this, where they tout a headline. And most Americans don't know this, nor should they. They shouldn't know the inner workings of the Department of Defense or the law as it relates to the deployment of soldiers within American boundaries. She knows that. She's capitalizing on people's lack of knowledge and then going to the media and asking them to put out these fake news headlines. And now she's basically trying to have it both ways. She's saying, because we've covered this extensively on our show before, about President Trump flat out authorized the use of the United States National Guard. That's the only thing he can do under the law. He can authorize it. We've shown that that authorization happened before January 6th, days before January 6th. We've shown that we at the Department of Defense and me as the Chief of Staff took those offers of authorization to the Capitol Police, to Mayor Bowser, who runs D.C. They rejected it. Why is that important? Just to remind our audience, the National Guard can only be used domestically if two things happen. There's a presidential authorization and there's a request by the local governing authority for that assistance. That's it. So we've testified to that under oath. Chris Miller's testified to that under oath. The documentation has been shown on our program and many others that support that narrative. And Biden's DOD Inspector General interviewed Chairman Mark Milley, who corroborated everything I just said, that the president authorized the troops and that the authorization was declined by Bowser and Pelosi and the Capitol Police. That's on page 31 of Biden's DOD Inspector General report. Why go through all that? Because the facts, and this is what I was talking about earlier when we talked about Hunter Biden, have defeated the fictitious narrative that the January 6th committee has been putting forth, that President Trump did not authorize the security posture at January 6th. He did. And he followed the law. So what did they do? They make up the next iteration of the false cycle. They go on TV and they say, and they prey on the lack of knowledge of certain Americans to say, President Trump never gave an order. I ask everybody that's watching this show, go back in American history and look for a president that has ordered the deployment of the United States military domestically. Tell me if you find one. And Liz Cheney knows that. But what's even more tragic is that you have these news programs who are supposed to be unbiased and doing their homework, allowing her to roll out this next false narrative and allowing these headlines to perpetuate, and no one's correcting them. No one's challenging them. It's almost as if they don't care, because it's Russiagate all over again, the target is President Trump. And everyone knows the purpose of the January 6th committee is not to get to the truth. It's to get to a point where you can either impeach President Trump so he can't run again, or what they're now working on, what what Attorney General Garland announced this past weekend, is a possible prosecution of Trump for the events of January 6th. But, you know, I was asked by a friend, if President Trump got charged and I was his defense attorney, how would you handle this case? And I said, easy, one witness, Liz Cheney. Put her up there and hit play for that interview you just cited, where Liz Cheney says President Trump never ordered the deployment of the National Guard domestically. Case closed. He's innocent. So I doubt most media will cover it, but that's the reality of the situation. I've even gone out and challenged the media and said I'll come out on your shows and talk to you about it in person because I was there firsthand, and not one of them have gotten back to me.